Hey, what is going on, crypto people? It is the Crypto Siege with another day in the life, in the crazy freaking life that is the digital asset space. Good freaking morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each and every one of you. I want to say happy Friday, but why does it feel like it's freaking Saturday? Is it Saturday? I think it's Saturday. Isn't it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. What's going on, Nate? Is that Nader or Nader? How are you, bro? Good to see you. Appreciate you checking in. Where are you checking in from, my guy? Where are you checking in from? Yeah, I had to do a live stream. Had to do a live stream. Listen, are the G7 nations talking about your crypto? Are the G7 nations talking about your favorite crypto? We are going to get into freaking that for sure. And hopefully the internet, I forgot to change I think so. Oh, Cali, no word. Okay. Nice. Appreciate you checking in. Appreciate you being here, bro. We are going to get into the numbers. We're going to really get into this call. Have you heard that call of Linda P. Jones and Jimmy Valley? That is the talk on the streets right now. That was straight fire, as they like to say. It really, really, really was really, really good. We're going to get into that because I think it's an important subject to breach, right? Are the G7 nations talking about your favorite crypto? We got the word on the street, right? The G7 nations came together to agree on 13 to 16 principles of a central bank digital currency. And some people were saying, a couple were saying that they had already set a price for XRP, a couple of YouTubers. I'm not certain of that conversation, but what I can't rule out is that they did not have that conversation. It's just that the G7 report said they were only talking about the central bank digital currencies. That's all it said. It said the central bank digital currencies. Where is my thing at? Where's my stream at? Why do I feel like I lost my stream? Hold on a second. Did I lose my stream? Technical difficulty, technical difficulty. And it's just internet's just brutal. Come on. You still hear me? Okay, good. I can't find the stream. I gotta check out this quality of the stream. It says it's there, so that works. Yeah, so I mean, I just think that's a big important question to ask. Why not? This Linda P. Jones interview that she did with Jimmy Valley was just, for me, is exactly what the doctor ordered. I mean, it was just perfect. This stream is not coming up. Doesn't matter, I guess. To me, it was just perfect what she laid out. Absolutely perfect. Look, the market is doing what the market does. Can we go over those numbers? Sure. I mean, the bottom line, it's just not great. It's just not great at all. The numbers are just not great. Bitcoin 29,000, right? XRP 38, 39, 40 cents if you're lucky. I mean, it's just the same thing. I don't know what's going on here. Bored Ape Yacht Club and other metaverse Discord servers have been hacked. The Bored Ape Yacht Club and other side metaverse Discord, so something called other side, have been hacked. That's not great. Millions of NFTs lost. Millions of dollars in NFTs. That's just not great, man. That is just not great. Oh, look at this. Total cryptocurrency market cap is terrible. It's terrible. Man, this thing is just dragging. What's going on, Winston? How are you, bro? Danny Loaf is in the building. What's good, bro? Yo, Siege. Kareem is in the building. How are you, bro? Yo, Siege, I just brought some XRP today. I want to buy and learn more about XLM too. I hear you. I hear you, my guy. How long have you been in the space? How long have you been in the digital asset space, bro? Kareem, how long have you been in the space, man? Danny Loaf is a veteran. Danny Loaf is a veteran in the space. I got to tell you guys, Danny Loaf, did you catch that interview with Linda P. Jones and Jimmy Valley? Winston says XLM will be for the retail investor, and XRP will be for banks. So that's what he means. Retail investors. That's you and I. That is you and I, Kareem, the average Joe and Jane out in this space trying to win. So let me know. Danny Loaf, man, dude, Danny Loaf, you have got to check that out. Now we're going to go over a few of those. Hopefully it will play. Kareem says, super new Siege. Like this year, I'm just trying to learn. Been learning about a lot of things thanks to your channel. Thank you. Appreciate you being here, bro. Without question, man. Yeah, it's a good thing. You're early, man. We're early. We're all early in this digital asset space. I'm going to tell you that for sure. We are early. Well, Danny, you remember the proposal from Jimmy Valley and his team, right? You remember that proposal that they sent to the Fed for XRP? Well, Kareem, I can't tell you what to do with your money, for sure, brother. But I can tell you that in the crypto Siege's home, we buy XLM and we buy XRP, and we've been doing it for years. 4 years. Of course, that's not financial advice. But that's what the crypto Siege's home has been doing. Yeah, the 37.5 or 35, whatever it is. Yeah. Linda P. Jones did a great interview on really clearing up some of the myths, really laying out some. I'm telling you, the interview is worth its weight in gold. It was outstanding. We're going to play some of it as well, because I think it's an important question to ask. Are the G7 nations talking about your favorite crypto? I did a video today about Linda P. Jones, and I did one yesterday, and I was having a discussion with myself. I kind of tend to do that, and I was like, man, I wonder if the G7 nations talk about Ethereum Classic. I wonder if the G7 nations are talking about EOS. I wonder if they're talking about Cardano. I wonder if they're talking about Zcash, Bitcoin Cash, Dash. That is a really great question to ask yourself. You think they're talking about Shiba Inu? Like, are they talking about your favorite crypto? So I know, Kareem, you're new to the channel, but we've been saying on this channel all the time, right? When it comes to the World Bank, when it comes to the IMF, when it comes to the central banks of the world, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Bank of England, when they hear crypto and digital assets, this is what they hear. Wah, 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 wah. But when you say cross-border payments, they say cross-border payments, right? They all stand up. They lean in. Every single one of those entities I mentioned, they all cross-border payments. Right? Right? Think about it. The G7 nations, they all agree that the cross-border payments is a challenge. It's a problem that needs to be addressed. So when Danny Lowe, when we find out about this article about the G7 nations coming together to discuss the 16, 13, whatever it is, principles of the CBDCs, here's what I know. They also discussed the challenges in cross-border payments, which leads me to believe that they're talking about XRP and XLM. We already heard from the World Bank. The World Bank was talking about XRP and XLM as freaking stable coins. Spanish Cobra's in the building. What's good? What's good, Spanish? Right? So, and the reason why I brought up Ethereum Classic, DAS, Zcash, EOS, and Bitcoin Cash, because these are cryptos that I've hold. These were cryptos that I felt during the bull run would do their thing. The OGs, some of them, they're all OGs. Thought for sure, look, they were going to do their thing in this space. And after listening to that interview with Jimmy Valley, it got me thinking, it really, really got me thinking about the phrase that we use in this community all the time: know what you hold. Know what you hold. So, and in fact, I asked on the last video, I asked people to share in the comments, do you think the G7 nations are talking about Ethereum Classic? Do you think they're talking about EOS? Cardano? Do you think they're talking about Cardano? I think there's 2 to maybe 5 cryptos they're talking about. This is me personally. I think they're talking about Bitcoin, XRP, XLM, Algorand, and possibly Hedera Hashgraph. But I think Bitcoin, XRP, and XLM front and center, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I do know that cross-border payments is a concern for everyone. For everyone. Getting that problem solved for everyone. Yeah, you would think Danny Lowe VeChain would be taking off a lot more than it has been. Something's going on there, right? So, I mean, let's take a listen to, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how much of this to play, but I think it's really, really important to understand who Jimmy Valley is, his background, what he's done, to really, really get a good grasp of what he was saying. And when I found out this thing called off-market sales, I was blown a freaking way. Legendary, what's good, bro? Did you hear that interview, Legendary, with Linda P. Jones and Jimmy Valley? Danny Lowe, off-market price. What? The off-market price? What in the wide world is that? What is the why? What is that? We're gonna get into that. All right, but I think it's important to kind of check this dude's background out. Check out Linda. Winston says, this is not financial advice, but XRP will be a 15,000 stable coin, 15K, and XLM will be a 1K stable coin for retail. You got that on You got that on some good. Basically, Danny Law. Basically, Winston, you got that on good word, huh? You got that on good word. All right, let's take a. Let me get this here. You haven't seen that yet. Okay, it's a podcast. Let me pull that up for you guys.
Jimmy, being an attorney, can't even fully express what you're going to hear today. This is a very important interview for the XRP community. This is something that is a document, it's a record, it's education and knowledge. It's something that we need to put on our library shelf for reference. It's something that is going to be enlightening, because what you're going to hear is an insightful conversation about XRP and Ripple by two financial professionals, myself and Jimmy Valley of Val Hill Capital. We're looking at the economy, at governments, investments, and possibilities through our lens of investment experience. Now, Jimmy, being an attorney, a mergers and acquisition expert, and a securities lawyer, he is skilled in many ways that allow him to do a professional analysis and render his opinion. And
here's the thing, Danny Lowe. How many of us really knew the background of this Jimmy Valley guy when he talked about this 37,500 XRP proposal? How many people lost their mind when they heard 37,500 and said, this dude has lost it? How many people got on Twitter and said, that would make the market cap? That would make the market cap. I keep hearing that, drives me crazy. That would make the market cap of XRP in the trillions. I'm telling you, you're about to get leveled up. Mergers and acquisition. Okay, an attorney and a securities attorney, mergers and acquisitions in the billions of dollars. I have a friend, a very, very dear friend, a business partner, whose son is a big-time attorney. You know, the sought after, up and comers in New York, you know, making waves. This young man does the same thing. And he's just getting started. He doesn't have decades of experience like Jimmy Fallon. He's just getting started, and they have put before him cases where the value are in the billions of dollars. This young man, yeah, sharp young man. But yeah, that's Jimmy Valley's background: mergers and acquisitions. But I want Linda to tell you.
That's what he's done in this conversation. It's my belief Jimmy tried to perform a service to the XRP community, because he had the skills, experience, and knowledge to do it. That will all unfold as you listen to this interview. And I have to warn you, you're going to hear some large numbers projected for the value of XRP. These may or may not ever come to fruition. Use your discernment and do more research. This is not hype. It's not meant to be hype. Please don't take it that way. But using a professional's opinion, you will hear all the background justification that's used in the industry, in real mergers and acquisitions, in real valuing of assets. People always want to know when, what's the timeline, when moon? I don't know. It may take years for XRP to get to the level that Jimmy's talking about, or it may never get there. So, in the meantime, what I recommend is we stay grounded. We stay rational. We don't do anything based on the information given here. Consider this for entertainment purposes only, and use your discernment. Please don't make any financial moves based on what you hear here today. This is a long interview. It's almost an hour and a half because it's thorough and we cover every angle that I think deserved to be inspected a little bit more closely from what Jimmy said before. Now, Jimmy's prior interview got him a lot of harassment to the point where he actually left Twitter. My hope is that this information isn't carelessly spread around, isn't criticized without reason, but is looked at with a critical eye to see what an expert in mergers and acquisitions, in valuation of assets, sees as the value of XRP, and sees what is clouding the title, if you will, of XRP at this time, which is one of the things keeping its price down. I think the XRP community is going to take this interview in the right spirit, that of deep professional information to add to our base of knowledge that we already have. So I really hope you enjoy this interview as much as I think you will. Here we go.
I am so excited to have Jimmy Valley with me today of Val Hill Capital. Jimmy has been in the XRP community for a period of time, but I wanted to bring him on the show because of a past deal that Jimmy made that I really felt needed a little bit of clarifying. And so, Jimmy, I've invited you here today to talk about that deal and just to get everything out in the open. So how are you doing?
I'm great, Linda. It's great to be with you. I'm a huge fan of your channel, and I've read your book, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
Me too. I think one of the things that the XRP community might not be aware of is your professional background. So tell us about your work experience, would you?
Sure, happy to do that. So really, as it relates to the proposed transaction, before we launched Val Hill Capital more publicly in 2020, I practiced corporate securities law and mostly M&A transactions for 3 big law firms for over 20 years, and was basically involved in multiple public-to-public mergers, big joint ventures. Since my practice was in Houston, notably a lot of the transactions I worked on was in oil and gas. But yeah, did that. So probably the most marquee transaction that I worked on was we represented Continental and its merger with United Airlines. We were on the Continental side. You know, that deal took 6 years to do. We actually started it in 2004. We didn't sign it till 2010. So that helps with perspective a little bit about how long these things can take sometimes. I represented Oklahoma Gas and Electric in its merger with CenterPoint Energy's midstream business to create a new mega midstream business, $11 billion transaction to create Enable Midstream that we then took public after that. So we kind of had an IPO securities offering. On more of the technology side, I represented Micron Technology in a massive, it was about $5.2 billion, as I recall, joint venture with Intel to manufacture what was called NAND flash wafers, which went into, at that time, the iPods and laptops and things like that. So it was things of this nature, ton of private equity transactions in a lot of different sectors. We had consumer products, private equity, tech, and then a lot of energy.
Incredible. So you're an attorney. You work in mergers and acquisitions. That's M&A for anyone not familiar with that. But you also worked in securities law, right?
That's correct. Yeah, my whole career I was a securities lawyer. So, you know, you learn the Howey test. If I could learn that in law school. But, you know, you learn that, you know, right away. And, you know, I was fortunate enough, the type of practice I had, we had a lot of public company clients. So we were always doing, you know, 8K filings and all the form filings when a director was selling securities of a public company and all that stuff. Of course, the more exciting things to be doing was the securities work in connection with an M&A transaction when you had to register securities that were going to be used as consideration in the transaction, or of course, the big thing is an IPO, initial public offering. You know, you'd have an army of people, you know, working on that, be down at the printer, you know, till 4 a.m, ticking and tying every comma in the prospectus document and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, did that kind of, that was part of my practice, the entire time.
Interesting. So you were an experienced securities lawyer, and then you invested in XRP.
That's correct. So, but I wasn't practicing, obviously. Well, no, I think I still was practicing. I didn't leave the practice till the summer of 2020. So when we first started making investments in digital assets, I was still practicing. And I guess you're like, why did you do that?
How did you hear about XRP, and why did you invest in it?
I recall hearing about.
So, again, his background is pretty extensive, but I think it's very, very, for me, it was very, very telling to hear his background as a securities attorney. And actually, he says here, while actually still in practice, decided to go ahead and still buy XRP, right? So the lawsuit is probably what's going on as well, right? So I think that was pretty significant, his background. But I think it's really, really important to know where he's coming from and why he did what he did. Let me see if I can go any further.
You ordinarily wouldn't have the time to do. So we started investing in Bitcoin. Just
an amazing time, and to think that we may have something like that in our future again is really exciting.
Yeah, my big lesson was that it's not necessarily the first lesson from the internet era. Now, we believe the asset has a present value far in excess of what it's trading on the market. The market is encumbered by the lawsuit, right?
Right.
As well as the unknown stuff that's behind the lawsuit that we didn't know. We know a lot more now, but we didn't know that.
We know about ETHgate now. We didn't know about it then.
To say it plainly, we know about ETHgate. We didn't know for sure that ETHgate existed at that time in the way that it's played out. There was a little bit of a, okay, how do we go about establishing fair market value in this context where, the government is basically suing the company, and basically the way that was working. How do we, go about establishing fair market value? What fair market value is basically what a willing buyer and a willing seller are willing to trade at, having all of the information, right? So everybody would have known about ETHgate, and everybody would have known about the private ledgers and things like that, things that we would come to learn later on down the road. But if everybody knew all that information and they weren't being compelled to transact, what would they transact at? And so that's the theory behind proposing a transaction, is to begin to establish what fair market value is outside the case. Keep in mind, there's been tons of damages, right? Like when we get to the end of this case and we look back and we've got all of the information about ETHgate, the corruption, all that stuff, it will be at that time that it occurs to everyone the trillions and trillions of dollars of damages that have occurred by basically not allowing XRP to have its true value.
Again, now, I think it's just important to understand this dude's background in evaluating companies, mergers and acquisition expert at evaluating companies and that quote unquote fair market value. This dude said the lawsuit is, the damages from this lawsuit is in the trillions and trillions of dollars. Trillions and trillions of dollars. It's pretty powerful.
That's right.
Notably because of the lawsuit. So it's going to be at that time that you're having to look back and say, well, what did people think the fair market value was at the time? Well, they won't be saying it's what the price was in a manipulated retail market that is through these exchanges, which we've come to understand are actually controlled by the same legacy banking system, right? So it had to be.
Did you guys catch that? He was saying that these exchanges are controlled by the legacy banking system. Did that what he just say?
Kind of that mindset, and then we went through a classic valuation type exercise process. I think when we initially proposed the transaction September 13th of 2021, we had a $25,000 I think per XRP price. It's basically valuing everything that had to get equitized, or at least most of it, to a $2.5 quadrillion, all the money type concept. We ultimately then in October, because we learned more about various things, but we ended up proposing a higher price. I think the last one was $37.5 that we proposed October 29th. We went through, there were several different kind of valuation methods we used. We looked at the AFNI Michnik model, which Susan Athey, I think is her name. She was a Stanford master's professor. She was on the board at Ripple. And then Robert Michnik, he was at Stanford in the master's program, I think, when they did their white paper on how to model digital asset or how to value digital assets, and they looked at Bitcoin and looked at XRP. So we had that. That was from 2018. We applied that same methodology and looking at stuff, but that model kind of looks at which I think is the way most people think about it, kind of this gradual adoption type of a process, right? So, it's going to start out at $1, go up to $5, $10, $20. That's the way most people think it's going to happen. We were basically trying to go to the end and say, no, what's the fully realized value of the ledger, and therefore what's the implied value of an XRP, and basically discount. We did a discounted kind of a modified DCF, discounted cash flow type valuation as well. And then the other piece that was
so I think a modified discounted calculated value, DCF, discounted cash. What did he say? Hold on a second. What exactly is that?
Discounted cash flow type valuation as well.
Modified discounted cash flow evaluation, right? And he also said he's going to the end. He's projecting to the end once the full value is realized of the XRP ledger. Interestingly enough, because he's going to talk about some other stuff here later that'll make sense to you. But you can tell that his evaluations are right. It's kind of a next level thing, and something that the retail world would not know anything about. And he's going to draw some other stuff on here, not about the evaluation, but on some personal company transactions that the retail world just doesn't know about in terms of XRP.
And then the other piece that was critical was this kind of, this collateralization of the ledger, which is, going back to a gold standard, or is it going to be just gold? Is it going to be gold, other precious metals, oil and gas? We thought for the Middle East countries to come along with this type of a thing, you would need to value oil and gas in the basket of precious commodities in order to figure out what each country's kind of in-place resources are. But it was kind of that type of exercise. We had a lot of information. There was one document which anybody can go look up, still available on the web, called the All the Money infographic. We looked at all those sources. We brought those sources down because they were all old numbers, 2019 numbers, as I recall. So we had to bring those down to 2021. Those were kind of the three valuation models we looked at. Basically we put out that value, but there's other terms in the deal as well as far as consideration. You learn first year in law school in your property course, you learn about property being a bundle of sticks, okay? And so it's really just a bundle of separate rights. There's the rights to possess it. There's the rights to direct it. There's, in securities, you can vote them sometimes. You see what I'm saying? It's got all these indicia of property rights that are bundled into this asset, right? So one of the big things that XRP has, that several digital assets have, that XRP notably has, is the right to receive airdrops. There had already been the flare snapshot, the sologenic snapshot was coming up. So there was all these, there was the NFT project that's running on XRPL out of Italy, Elysius tokens or something?
Yeah, Elysian, yeah.
Elysian. So, there were all these rights, right, if you will, to receive tokens that hadn't even been issued yet, that we didn't think just because you handed over your XRP in connection with the deal, you should lose that particular right. So we bifurcated that property right. We basically said, we'll basically fork that right off into a new type of an asset. We called it the residual airdrop right. And the person would still have whatever that XRP that they were holding before was going to get in airdrops. Whether we know them now or in the future, they would still get them now or in the future. So that was something. There was some other elements, kind of there needs to be some recognition to compensate the damages that XRP holders have experienced because of the SEC's actions. And the SEC and maybe others. So things like debt forgiveness and tax holidays were basically added in to terms of the transaction to really compensate the people that walked through the hellfire, or you've seen Shawshank Redemption.
I think it's important to note that he did all of it, right? I mean, they did all the valuation. I mean, NFTs, airdrops that you would possibly have gotten based upon what has already been NFTs that have already been established. So you see, this is speaking to his background and being able to evaluate the future value, being able to evaluate the future value of something, because that's the business that he was in, or right. Being able to evaluate the future value of something. And so he talked about things like NFTs, but he's also saying that, and I know BK has mentioned this before several times, he's talking about nations being able to say, take their thing, Russia, Middle East, oils, whatever, collateralize it on the ledger. United States, whatever they got, I don't know what do we have? Collateralize on the ledger, right? Take these nations and bring that collateral to the XRP ledger. You can put everything on a ledger. Then remember, right? Kareem, right? You still hear Kareem? The XRP ledger, you can put anything of value, digitized, tokenized, put it on the XRP ledger. And the XRP ledger can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny. Right? That's very, 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 very important to know. Yeah, so it's a very, very good to see you still here, Kareem. That's a very powerful thing. And so, collateralizing everything and going to a commodity or asset-based system, right? We've said this on the channel several times, that we were going to move from a debt-based society or economy to an asset-based society and or economy, right? Because the the debt thing ain't working. Right. And what he is proposing, and you'll hear him saying, he's proposing a way, if you will, to change that debt into something else.
Crawled through the 2.5 miles of filth to get to the other side of this, right? That's what those terms were about.
Well, and I think you, as an experienced mergers and acquisitions attorney, securities lawyer, had all of the right elements to be able to look at this deal on behalf of the XRP community, which is really what you were doing, is proposing something that would benefit everyone at a higher price level, because you understood that the Federal Reserve issues the currency. Here we are during the pandemic at that time, seeing more and more trillions issued, more debt issued, and you're looking at 2.5 quadrillion of obligations, including derivatives and the bond market, which is debt. And, you know, when they create currency, it creates debt that the people have to pay the Federal Reserve back for. So you were actually looking at a way to retire all that debt, in a sense, end the old currency and complete that transaction by having them to offer us an amount for XRP that would forgive all of that debt, in a sense. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Offer up our XRP so that they could have it and be able to get rid of all of that debt. Let me listen to that again.
Looking at a way to retire all that debt, in a sense, end the old currency and complete that transaction by having them to offer us an amount for XRP that would forgive all of that debt, in a sense. Is that right?
That's exactly right. If you just break it down to like the fundamental accounting equation, you know, assets minus liabilities equals equity. It was, what lever can we pull to kind of rebalance this, right? Rebalance this debt system, which is clearly out of control. And you could do a debt jubilee. You could forgive all the debt, but that would hurt the investors who basically are holding debt as investment assets, right? So that didn't really seem fair. We really thought it was just this elegant solution, because if you wrote up the gold, it would have been kind of the same issue as taking the debt down. Then the people who just happen to be holding gold would experience this windfall and the write-up of the asset, right? That not everybody holds a whole bunch of gold, because we were taking off the gold standard 50 years ago. But here we had this brand new asset class that really hadn't been valued yet. It is such a unique moment in time to kind of have this brand new asset on the scene that we can basically have everybody come together and say, well, we're just going to say the fair market value of that asset is, you know, way up here. And that would end up, you know, basically re-equitizing. It would keep the debt holders whole. It would make a very small amount of people extremely wealthy. But, you know, when we were looking at it, that's kind of a small price to pay to basically get us out of this, what appears even to this day to be an unnavigatable problem. You know?
What do you guys think about that? I would love to hear your thoughts. I know I let that go a little bit, but what do you think about what he is saying? No, not the holders. No, not the holders. It's what I understand that to be, Legendary. What he is saying that when someone would give up their XRP, for example, to the Federal Reserve, United States Treasury, The United States Treasury and the Federal Reserve, essentially, it is, she said, in the old currency system, right? In the old currency and, right, the fiat system. And what they're saying is, in this new fourth industrial revolution, we're going to do it based upon assets, and we're going to collateralize those assets on the ledger. And because it's on the ledger, the greatest asset would be XRP, and that the nations of the world would come together, if you would, collateralize the assets. And of course, the first thing they would agree upon is the value of the asset. It's the value of the asset, right? That's why he brought up the G7 nations and the fact that the G7 nations came together and came up with 13 to 16 principles of a central bank digital currency, because he said about 8 months prior to them announcing that, and I guess it was in October of 2021, he said that he would not he could easily see the G7 nations coming together and agreeing on a price for digital assets. Which digital assets? I don't know. Which digital assets? I don't know. But if the nations of the world come together, and that's why I always think it's really important to hear when you hear something from the World Bank, IMF, or if you hear something from a central bank like the Bank of England, right? When you hear them say positive and speaking to the prowess of XRP and the XRP ledger, those are very, 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 very important things. Like the World Bank literally talking about XRP and XLM as a stable coin, saying they acted like a stable, the World freaking bank, talking about a crypto, a digital asset, right? So what he's really saying there, Legendary, from which Linda was saying as well, is now the United States Treasury or whoever, the Federal Reserve, they have this asset. The nations have agreed to on a price for it, and whatever they work out amongst themselves after XRP is turned over to them, they get some more, who knows? They would agree upon that, but it would be a way to rid themselves of the debt, right? Because all the nations, Japan, China, the United States, just pick a top G7 nation, they're all in trouble. They can't make it up. They can't pay back the debt, right? They can't make it up. They can't pay back this debt. And so this would be a way for them to go to the next system, this asset-based system, right? There is who's not, let me ask you this question, right? Who's not turning over their XRP? I've asked this question a lot of times. People tell me, I'm holding on to my XRP till this and until that. I'm holding. And I asked it I think I did it at $100. But remember what Jimmy said there at the end. He said, the nations would kind of re-collateralize their debt. Now they got it's backed by this asset, if you will. It's not exactly a debt jubilee, but it's a way to kind of reformulate and restructure the debt, right? They all agree on this price. They all agree to collateralize the assets that each country has, if you will, on the ledger. It's on that ledger now, right? You can't say it ain't there. It's tokenized, right? It digitized, right? and they agree on this price. And he's saying he felt as though him and his team had the experience to evaluate XRP based upon that type of deal, right? And probably this is something that the IMF and the World Bank, they have to agree on, right? But who's not turning over? Who's not turning over that XRP at $30,000? Who's not turning it over at 15K? But it's the way he got there for that price that I find to be very, very, very fascinating. Because the first thing I thought when I first heard it, not this time, when I first heard it was, why would the Federal Reserve agree to do that? What is in it for them? What's in it for any central bank? What is in it for any nation's central bank? What is in it for them? Right? That's the thing, right? And so, and he said that right, these central bank countries and these nations, they would be happy, right? And he said a few people would be wealthy, but that's just the price to pay, right? So the XRP holders would be wealthy, but that's just the price to pay. And it got me thinking. I was having this conversation with Miss Crypto Siege, and it got me thinking. Danny Lowe's legendary. It got me thinking of oil in Texas, right? Or just oil in general, right? What was oil about? The oil discovery. What was that about? That was about a certain group of people being at the right place at the right time and being able to capitalize. In other words, take their capital and put it somewhere to capitalize on this oil discovery, right? Think about that. Now, did everyone become billionaires, right? Did everyone become billionaires after the discovery of this? This discovery of this massive commodity? No. Did everyone create generational wealth? No. No, they just didn't. But the world benefit from oil. The world benefit from our oil. And that's what Jimmy is saying, that the world is going to benefit from moving from this debt-based to this asset-based, commodity slant asset-based thing. The world is going to benefit from the XRP ledger, right? And the world is going to benefit from this, this, if you will, this new debt structure, this re-forgiving of the debt or whatever it's going to be, right? The printing press is turned off. Maybe not even have to have taxes anymore. Who knows? If your nations are no longer in debt, I'm not sure there's a reason for taxes. But a few people out of the billions of people on the planet, a few people would create generational wealth. And it's no different than what happened with oil. That's right, Winston. If I were African nations, I'd be filling up my bags to establish my economy, to get out from under the IMF and the World Banks. They will never be able to pay back those loans. Just think about that for a second. It's very, very true. But at 35,000 per XRP, I'm just not worried about inflation. Right? Oh, they'll figure it out, Danny. They'll figure out what to do with all that money. They'll figure it out, right? There are people who have billions of dollars, right? There are people that have tens of billions of dollars, $100 billion. They'll figure it out. In fact, you probably won't even have to go looking for it. Legendary said 30,000 might get most of it. You are a tough deal, man. They're not going to get all your XRP at 30,000. Boy, man. Ooh, you're tough. You're a tough bargain person right there, man. Might get most of it, huh? You still gonna hold on to something. But you see my point. You kind of see my analogy there. Not everybody created generational wealth from oil, but it changed the world. And he's suggesting this is the value of the XRP ledger and its native asset, XRP. $75 billion, right? There you go, right? Isn't that life though? Life is just some people create generational wealth or on a position, right? Everybody who didn't have an opportunity to buy XRP. I mean, it wasn't a law. There wasn't you didn't have to jump over hoops. You didn't have to be accredited investor to get XRP. It was just there available. Some chose to not do it and some chose to do it. But for me, the main thing what Jimmy is trying to do, like he put that together, him and his team put that together because he knows that makes sense to those people. It completely makes sense to them. Now, will they do it? I don't know. Will they do it? I don't know. I find it very, very odd and strange to me that Ripple, the company, is able to go around from nation to nation and help and put together a central bank digital currency under a lawsuit. They're just going around helping other nations. The latest, I think, word on the street is Lithuania now. Right? That's right. Generational wealth, that's the key, as Jay-Z said. That's exactly right, Kareem. Private ledgers, it's all being set up and it's all right in front of people's eyes, right? And everybody is just, they don't see it, but it's right there. I read an email thread or chat. Check this out before I let you listen to the rest of this. With Arthur Brittle and some other dudes. And Arthur Brittle said XRP, in the way it was designed, could last, the amount of XRP could last for thousands of years. For thousands of years. That's what he said. All right, let me go to some other. Okay, let's listen some more here.
The Fed it's now becoming very mainstream. It wasn't then. The Fed's kind of stuck. If they raise rates anymore, they're going to slam us into a recession or worse. If they just go back to QE, quantitative easing, and continue the trillion-dollar money printing, that's going to inflate us into oblivion. It was a real elegant solution, we thought. It was also going to serve the side purposes of collateralizing the XRPL with its real full value. People would start to be able to trade right away, and we kind of saw the central banks would be taking the XRP back in by doing the transaction, and they would be using it kind of on the back end to do, like I said, instead of flying gold or other precious commodities around in military aircraft, they could just be bing bing, pinging each other with these XRP transactions to settle up. And the rest of us would be filtering over time. There's the people who would be participants. We call them the participating token.
Pinging each other each other XRP.
And, they would be using it kind of on the back end to do, like I said, instead of flying gold or other, precious commodities around in military aircraft, they could just be bing, bing, pinging each other with these XRP transactions to settle up. And
to settle up.
The rest of us would be filtering over time. There's the people who will be participants. We call them the participating token holders. People who will be participants in the transaction are going to be kind of a different class of people almost as a result of that, right? And it'll be generations as their wealth is distributed amongst their families and for charitable causes and things like that. And then I guess more of your retail, everyday consumer people would, have not only the debt burdens on them, these taxing burdens relieved from them, and gosh, just imagine the uplift in humanity of being free from taxes alone. Everybody was going to benefit in a very, very positive way, even though the XRP token holders were going to materially benefit in a very major way.
Yes. So I think what people had a hard time wrapping their head around was the fact that XRP was selling for, let's say, under $1, and you were proposing.
Listen to this, guys. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is hugely important to understand the real world in which we live in. This is massively important to listen to the real world that we currently live in.
$35,000, let's say. And why couldn't the Fed just buy it off the exchanges? But it's not about them buying it off the exchange or buying it in that way. It's about retiring their debt and getting rid of the total debt that's outstanding. And that's the disconnect that I think most people really didn't understand that I want to.
And that's important, but that's not the thing I'm talking about. Right. I'm talking about what Jimmy's going to say after this. But yeah, I think a lot of people were missing that. I certainly did, about the benefit to the Fed, central banks of the world, the benefit of doing something like this.
Make sure that we describe clearly here.
Mm-hmm. We tried very hard to get all this out even before we ever threw the deal out there. Get these concepts of how do you establish fair market value for an asset and things like that. And, unfortunately, we just live in a time that we read headlines and we hear sound bites, and that's what informs us. There's not a lot of pulling back the onion one layer and going a little deeper. But you're right. The driver for the Fed, think about it as a legacy banking system, to do the transactions, because they were going to be able to set the price in a way that established fair market value for the asset and effectively collateralized the debt, right? So if most debt is synthetic, it suddenly was supported by an asset. But you had to do that in an arm's length transaction. That's part of it. And then, the kind of sub pieces of this is if you're using resources that are available to you, like agencies of the government, to do things like bring lawsuits, that then effectively puts a cloud on title. The reason XRP today is, I haven't looked at it today, 40 cents or whatever, right? But the reason it's that is because the institutions have no regulatory clarity. They can't really get into it in a material way, because there's effectively a cloud on title. What is the regulatory treatment of XRP? It's still not. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that definitively, right? We need to come to an agreement on that as a collective marketplace, but nobody knows what that is. So the price that we see right now, I don't know how to say it more plainly.
Listen to this. This is it, guys. Listen. This is so important. Let's listen. I'm going to rewind a little bit.
Like agencies of the government to do things like bring lawsuits that then effectively puts a cloud on title. The reason XRP today is, I didn't look at it today, 40 cents or whatever, right? But the reason it's that is because the institutions have no regulatory clarity. They can't really get into it in a material way because there's effectively a cloud on title. What is the regulatory treatment of XRP? It's still not, nobody knows that. Nobody knows that definitively, right? We need to come to an agreement on that as a collective marketplace, but nobody knows what that is. So the price that we see right now, I don't know how to say it more plainly, is that ain't the price. We have done transactions in XRP just like we do with barrels of oil, with cubic feet of gas and stuff like that, where we have priced XRP in a contract with another party for values that are far in excess of what it's ever traded for. And
Did you guys catch that? Let me play it for you again. This is the real world we live in.
The price that we see right now, I don't know how to say it more plainly, is that ain't the price. We have done transactions in XRP just like we do with barrels of oil, with cubic feet of gas and stuff like that, where we have priced XRP in a contract with another party for values that are far in excess of what it's ever traded for. And that's because the party on the other side wanted the XRP, right? And we were in a position to be able to sell them material amounts of XRP. And vice versa. We've received XRP at values that are called off-market values. This is happening all the time.
This is happening all the time. We have sold XRP. This is what the dude said. We have come to an agreement on XRP that is far and on a price that is far exceeded the price that XRP has ever been. We have done deals. We, Jimmy Valley and the people at Jimmy Valley Inc., whatever the thing is called, right? What's going on, Kev? Good to see you, bro. Pay me money baggers is in the building. Did you hear that? Right? Why would someone on the other end of a phone call from Jimmy Valley or vice versa, why would the dude who called Jimmy Valley make that agreement when they could just go get it on exchange? Why? Quote, if they could. Why would they agree on a price for XRP that far exceeds and far in excess of the price that it has ever been? Why? Here's what I say all the time. My mentor used to say, I wouldn't sign up for that class. You know, why does the sun rise in the east? This dude said this is done all the time, right? He says, I don't know how to tell you, but the price that you see on CoinGecko for XRP, that ain't the price. That is not the price. I did my video earlier today. I'm like, I need to walk in the circles. You know, I need to walk in the circles that Jimmy Valley walks in. And he says he's going to say here later, and vice versa. He's bought XRP in an arrangement with some other person. And he calls, I bought it for off-market price. And this goes on, he says, every day. Goes on every day. So it, you know, I know when we hear these numbers, we automatically we want to, let me stop to share. I know we want to go coin, we want to go total market cap. Right? We want to talk total market cap, and that off market fair market price or whatever that they do, that has nothing to do with the market cap. Nothing. It's two parties agreed on a price. He just said publicly, plain language, that some dude was willing to pay a price for XRP that XRP has never hit. XRP has never hit $5, $10, $15. This dude said far exceeds the price that XRP has ever been, because they wanted the XRP on the other end. We could try to figure out why. We could try to make sense of it. And he says he's done it the other way as well. Because they both, first of all, if this dude is doing something like a 35 or 37,000 XRP to the Fed, then I guess he doesn't on the other end mind paying $5 for XRP, and it never's gone to $5. He doesn't mind. He said it happened to him on the other end, where he paid for it because he wanted it, because he sees the fair market value of the XRP and the XRP ledger. But it's gone both ways. I just think that is amazing. I think it's amazing that something like that happened. And he talks about cloud on title. And when he talks about arm's length transactions. So these are things that people in that circle, right? And that mergers and acquisition, securities, attorneys circle, especially the mergers and acquisition, right? Because that's that place where you got to know how to evaluate a thing, right? And that's your business. That's your business, to be able to evaluate the fair market value, right? And future value of a thing, current and future value of a thing. Does anyone have any questions on why he says the Feds and the federal central bankers of the world, if you will, would agree on something like that? Are you staking Kava or are you staking XRP, Danny Lowe's? Anyone have any questions on that? I just thought that was an absolute freaking gold mine. Gold mine. Any questions? Yeah, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't had a chance to do so already. I'm telling you, this is a legendary interview. I did my first video on this. I said the best XRP interview in the history of XRP or something like that. Golden. What's going on, Dave from Australia? Good to see you, bro. Good afternoon to you. Golden.
Happens in markets every day. We do oil and gas futures contracts. We say, I'm going to sell you at this price. That person agrees. That doesn't change the market price of what oil is, right? That doesn't change the NYMEX price. That's our agreement on what we're going to value the oil on. Understand?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That needed to be done in an arm's length transaction with people sophisticated enough to do that deal. You know, the market isn't what the price really is. The market is what we're That's what we're being fed. I mean, that's what we're being given.
Right.
We're going to find out, what we're finding out is most of our markets actually, JP Morgan was brought up on, manipulating the precious metals markets. They had a nominal in, JP Morgan, fairly what most of the oil in it, right? And all of a sudden there's what we call a cloud on tile. Do you think you can go sell your $300 billion oil field for $300 billion? No. You're in a lawsuit. You're in a lawsuit without anybody understanding who really owns and what the regulatory treatment is of that asset. It's almost the exact same thing here. It's just the cloud in this case is a regulatory treatment thing, and it's being done by agency of a federal government instead of a third party. Right.
Yeah. So you were on social media on an airplane and said as a caption, "The deal is done." So what did you mean by that?
Actually, what I said is, it's done. Congratulations to all. So, and Linda, I've explained this so many times. You'd be shocked. But I literally on Twitter responded to so many people that asked me this exact same question, contemporaneously with saying it. Okay, I was on a trip back. The G7 met and agreed to 16 principles for CBDCs, right? Central banks, digital currencies.
The G7 countries met and laid out.
They laid out
the rules for central bank digital currencies.
16 principles of central bank digital currencies, how they were going to be and how they were going to interact with each other. G7 did that October 8th, 2021. Same day I'm on the plane. I had predicted 8 months before that there could be a deal done. There could be an agreement struck among people, G7, that they would come to some type of arrangements to start trading in digital currencies. I published the article in a tweet. I tweeted out the article, the G7, and then my very next tweet was, "It's done. Congratulations to all." Because after I published the articles, I was sitting there thinking and reading through again the 16 principles. I was like, okay, do you think that they came up with an agreement on these 16 principles and they don't know what the price is going to be? Of course they do.
Yeah.
Price is the first thing that you agree to in any transaction. You don't even keep talking unless you got an agreement on what the price is. So that led to the "it's done, congratulations to all," which was a reference back to the James Rule interview, and that it wasn't about the deal we had proposed to the Fed.
Okay. And
hopefully that clears it up.
Yes. So your deal did not get accepted by the Fed. We can say that for sure.
To my knowledge, it hasn't been.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things there, and I'm going to share the article about the G7, but he said, to my knowledge, it hasn't been, right? Reputable law firm, expert in mergers and acquisitions, or a securities attorney, whatever. He let everyone know, he put it out, but to his knowledge, it hadn't been accepted yet. And I think it's funny that he said it that way. Not that he knows anything, but the point is, that it hasn't been rejected either. So this is not about, some kind of hopium or anything like that. But I think the way he said that it was important to note. And I'm sure that once he gets something back, if ever, he would let us know about that. But it is important that he clear that up, because he said it's done, and a lot of people thought that the proposal was done, but it wasn't the proposal. He said it's done because the 8 months prior to that, 8 months prior to this, he had predicted that the nations would get together, G20, G7 nations would come together on a price for assessing digital currencies. Which ones? I don't know. But that's what he said like 8 months ago. And so when he saw it with the G7 and the central bank digital currencies, he said it's done, right? And what I think, right, what I think about the 13 principles that these G7 nations agreed on. Listen, G7 financial leaders reached an agreement on digital currencies. Finance ministers of the G7 countries have reached an agreed position on 13 public principles for central bank digital currencies, in a move that could pave the way for greater adoption of CBDCs across the world leading economies. According to a statement from the United States Treasury Department, the public policy principles will be grounded in transparency, sound economic governance, and a respect for the future role of law, for a respect for the rule of law, in a way designed to foster innovation and development of new digital currencies for retail purposes. So I said in my video earlier today, and I asked the same question of you guys as well in this stream. What makes you think that they didn't discuss other digital assets? It's easy for some public statement to get out about central bank digital currencies because most people believe that that's going to be, they would already understand the price, right? Like who, right? First of all, that no one can get these central bank digital currencies, right? No one can get them yet. They came up with these policies, and with these 13 or 16 principles, public policy principles, right? So that's going to be the things that would apply to you and I. They agreed on them, and he is saying the first thing you talk about is the price from his, decades of experience in the space. What I'm saying is, why wouldn't they? What makes you think they didn't have a conversation about other digital assets? And if they did, which ones do you think they were? I think they were talking about Bitcoin, XRP, XLM, Algo, possibly because of the prowess of that blockchain, and probably their hash graph. That's just me. Could it be XDC and Quant in there as well? Probably. Maybe they talked about a 10 of them. I don't know. But my thing is, they probably didn't just stop on central bank digital currencies. My thing. I think that this is a move that they all know is going to happen. I think they're moving towards this world of central banks having more to do in the monetary policy in terms of money being out there in the world. Because remember, the central bank money is less than 10% of all the money in there. Commercial bank money is closer to 90% of the money that's in the world. Right? Close to 90%. But that doesn't mean they didn't talk about the other cryptos. And again, like I started this live stream, the G7 nations, all of G20 nations, and then you include the IMF and the World Bank, they all agree. They all agree on the failure that is cross-border payments and the need to fix it. And there is one company that is out there ahead of everyone else in solving that issue. And they're not solving it with Bitcoin or Ethereum. They are solving it on the XRP ledger and with the digital asset XRP. RippleNet is awesome. Private ledgers for the CBDCs is awesome. But I can tell you one thing. Japan is not going to want Russia's central bank digital currency. The United States is not going to want Japan's central bank digital currency. Right? There's going to have to be a bridge asset between them. But, that's what he was talking about, that he had said that these nations were going to come together, G7, G20, and agree upon a price for digital assets. And I just don't know if EOS is going to be in that discussion. I just don't know if Cardano is going to be in that discussion. I don't think that Ethereum Classic is going to be in that discussion.
The Ethereum contingent, the Bitcoin contingent really don't want to be hitting this you own too much XRP argument too hard, because when we really understand the wallets that control the bulk of the Ethereum and the Bitcoin, it's even worse. It's just FUD. It's fodder to throw out there. It's an easy target because, in my opinion, Ripple really has tried to walk the fine.
Which I have never said. I do not believe that's the case. I do believe that there's some sort of a situation happening where Russia's transitioning because of sanctions and because of what's going on with their wanting to trade oil and gas but not accept euros or dollars, and them wanting to pay debt but the agencies not wanting to accept dollars, and then they pay in rubles and on time, but they are considered in default. I do think there is something in a transitionary situation with currency, with, an obvious solution at the end of the road somewhere where XRP is the answer. But I am.
Do you guys get that? And this is what she's speaking to right here. Things like this article here. Russia's in a very precarious situation, right? They got to make debt obligations. They're not willing, two things. They're not willing to accept anything in euros or dollars for their oil and gas, right? And when it comes time for them to pay something, they can't pay in dollars because they're being restricted. And what they're saying is that if they try to pay in rubles, they default because the payment's not supposed to be made in rubles. But these sanctions don't allow them to pay in dollars. And what she is saying is that kind of thing is going to start to get out there. It's going to start to get out there. And of course, the other nations of the world understand the predicament that Russia's in. And there is a solution. She's saying there's an obvious solution to that would satisfy both people. Russia and its counterparties, both people. Russia's not trying to accept anything because of the sanctions. Russia's not trying to accept anything in euros or dollars. Cool. Use the XRP ledger, use XRP, you send your dollars, you use XRP, it ends up in rubles. Russia's trying to meet their world debt obligation, whether it be in the bonds or whatever it is. And Russia's like, yeah, we're going to pay that in rubles. We'll pay on time, but in rubles. Well, the sanctions say, oh, no, you got to pay in dollars. Not the sanctions, but the agreement was to pay in dollars. But Russia's not able to get access to the dollars because of the sanctions. Well, so what Linda is very smartly pointing out is that the world is going to recognize this challenge. They're going to see this example and the turmoil that it has caused, especially if Russia goes default. Russia loses its default defense in 48 hours. Here's what that means. In 48 hours, Russia will face default. A threat has been looming since the beginning of the war in Ukraine on February 24. The sanctions imposed by the West on Russia following the invasion of Ukraine have cut off Moscow from the global financial system, frozen its over $600 billion of reserves abroad, and banned trading of new Russian bonds. The only way Russia has managed to avoid defaulting until now has been thanks to a special U.S. Treasury license, which allow international bondholders to still receive payments from Moscow. So far, Russia has managed to meet all its payments obligations, but on May 25th, the United States Treasury formally expired, leaving Moscow unable to process such transactions. The U.S. Treasury has made it clear they do not intend to renew it. This is important because this is a major nation. This is a major economy, the major G7 nation. in this precarious situation for whatever the reason. And what she's saying is nations of the world will begin to recognize the prowess of being on the XRP ledger. Fine, you don't want to accept my rubles? Cool. I'm going to put my rubles on the XRP ledger. And you'll receive whatever you want to receive it in. Therefore, avoiding any global defaults in payments. Teetering on default, Russia misses $1.9 million payment. Russia's failure to pay $1.9 million in accrued interest on a dollar bond will trigger payouts potentially worth billions of dollars. A panel of investors determined on Wednesday as the country teeters on its first major external debt default in over a century. That's what she's talking about. And that is what is happening. And Russia knows it, United States knows it, the G7 nations of the world know it, almost as if it was planned. What can we do to avoid another global freaking incident? Explainer: Russia walks the plank to a foreign bond default. What can we do to avoid another global freaking G7 nation default? There is absolutely nothing right now, currently, that would stop Russia from using the XRP ledger. Like nada, like nothing, like nada. There ain't no sanction that can stop you from using the XRP ledger. Right? There isn't a sanction that can stop you from using. It's open source. Anyone can use it. Can't get Ripple to shut it off. Hey, shut off the XRP. You can't do it. Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. Let's listen to the rest of this. We're just about done. I got 2 clips because I think it's important that you check these out. If my internet will. Okay, here we are. Minute 3.
I'm in no way saying, and never have said, that they would use crypto to get around regulations, to get around sanctions. Absolutely not. And Ripple has done everything by the book and, you know, deserves kudos for putting up with all of this garbage, all these insults, as you say, that have been hurled at them.
In the magnitude of communicate, and I think it was, you can look at, you know, Empower Oversight got the list of people, at least, that Bill Hinman was in communication with while he was there. It includes a lot of these types of investors who are very, you know, they're OG crypto investors, institutional, right? Institutional crypto investors. Right. And yeah, they do seem to have a lot of knowledge that other people didn't have at that time.
Agreed.
Yeah. Ironically, if XRP is a security, then they're all guilty of insider trading. If XRP is not a security, then I think they're not guilty. There is no insider trading in commodities, right? There's market manipulation, there's fraud. They might be guilty of other things, but the insider trading thing, they may be able to get out of. So they should be changing their tune.
Yeah. Okay, Jimmy, our audience, I know, is pounding the table and saying, Linda, get back to the G7 price that Jimmy mentioned. So, Jimmy, what do you think the G7 price is that they agreed on?
We stand with kind of our initial assessment. I think it's going to be tied to moving back to a gold standard. And that's a euphemism. When I say gold standard, it's a euphemism for some type of precious commodities standard. So it's maybe probably a basket of commodities, which you could see being, gold, silver, diamonds, oil, gas, things of that nature. So when we talk about the gold standard, we're really just talking about going back to the old level playing field. I think that's kind of what brings it about. And so you're really talking about, how do you value XRP against that new standard if it needs to, communicate and transmit all the value. And we still firmly believe, in fact, if anything, it's only gone up. There's only been more money printed and more debt put into the system since we proposed the transaction. I mean, 2021, right? Didn't we put something like 65% of the dollars in circulation were printed in 2020, 2021? It's part of the pandemic.
Something like that.
So what was, 2.5 quadrillion that became 3.75 quadrillion is probably in the magnitude of 5 quadrillion now. And if you just do the math, and this is actually not even taking into account the XRP that's burned in connection with every transaction, it may be higher than 37.5 at this point in time. Good news for us is that we did have some kind of drop dead dates in our offer, so we wouldn't have to take 37.5 now if the Fed decided to engage. We don't even know now if the Fed is the proper party to actually do this. Maybe it's more the Treasury. Who knows? But whoever the counterparty is, they may need to pay a little more. But, it's what's going to be the pain point for them to get them to the table to actually have the conversation. Who knows what'll cause that?
Well, I mean, if Russia is declared in default, that could start some sort of a domino effect in the bond market, could it not?
It absolutely could.
And so, I mean, just to let you know that's going on, right? We're in that moment with Russia. He asked a very, very important question. What is going to get the Fed, United States Treasury, and other nations that talk amongst themselves to take such a proposal seriously? And Lynn says, Russia's on the verge of default, which just cascades into this kind of global default thing. But it talked about, all these commodities, whether it be gold and oil and, I don't know, diamonds, I don't know, all that other kind of stuff. And actually, it's got to be collateralized on a ledger and move across that ledger. So how do you determine the fair market value of the asset that's moving it? He's thinking right now about $5 quadrillion in this debt thing. Again, I just speak to his experience and his background. I know at one time, a point in the world, the U.S. residents would have never thought that the United States government would come and personally take their personally owned gold. Not the United States of America, not the free world, not the leader of the free world. The leader of the free world said you have to give up your gold for the betterment of the country. Russia's just about there, guys. Russia is just about there. And the bond markets has always been the stable, the foundation of the world's economies.
And we're of the opinion that type of thing is already popping, whether it be, from Russia, obviously that would blow a massive hole if Russia is declared to be in default, something that I don't think you could pull out of, because the dominoes, it reminds me when I was a younger lawyer, Enron went bankrupt, and I went to this great energy conference in Houston, and he was the former general counsel at this point in time of Enron, was describing what it was like as basically they started to go into default, and he said they had like 4 major fax machines like in the general counsel's office, because they're like CC'd on notices of defaults. The notice of defaults were coming so fast they couldn't keep enough paper loaded in the fax machine to keep up. Because, basically what happens when you go into this death spiral, I don't know if you've ever been involved in a company that kind of goes bankrupt that has a lot of obligations. But, basically you end up with something, you have like credit ratings, default triggers and stuff like that. So as soon as you drop below, investment grade, if you're investment grade, or, if you're triple B minus, whatever it is, if you drop below it, that ends up becoming a default under all these contracts. Then you can have something at a lower level, which when all the mid-level contracts default, they end up slamming you down further, and it's effectively a death spiral that only increases in speed as it unfolds, right? So you could literally see the global economy go through a similar type of a thing, not unlike what happened to Bear Stearns and then Lehman Brothers back in the 2008-2009 mortgage crisis, right, where you end up having, banks like that starting to just pop. We've got the Evergrande thing out there. That's leading into, we've got major asset managers that are Western asset managers like BlackRock, Invesco, Vanguard, all these major asset managers that are exposed significantly to the Asian debt markets. Tether is apparently supported by some Asian
Evergrande. Tether.
I think there was another one I wanted to play for you guys. But he makes some really great points, does he not? I mean, he makes some really great points. But I'm going to wrap it up there. I mean, it's pretty powerful. So, I mean, that's just something to pay attention to, guys. Trevor LeConte, what's good, bro? Yeah, man. Paul Bowl checked in. Diego G, what's going on, bro? I have a feeling I shouldn't sell 65% of my bag at $10 or $13. Oh, man, I tell you. Kenley TV, it says, remember, the IMF is picking a new basket of currency this July 31st. Is that right? Philip Juan, what's going on, bro? XRP Nick, you're welcome, bro. Kinsley says they're talking about XRP, XLM, Algo, IOTA, XDC. ISO 20022 is the standard. That's a good list right there. Isn't it? Like, no, you never hear a peep or word or anything about IOTA. Isn't that interesting, though? Paul Bogle says, yes, magnificent interview. It really was, Paul. Linda just did a great job. Jackie 33 is in the building. What's good, miss? How are you? Well, guys, listen, I just wanted to bring that with you just to kind of, I just think it's so very important, hugely important to understand. Let me get this link for Jimmy for anyone who wants it. I know Danny Lowe asked about it. Crypto Fitter, what's good, bro? Bringing the heat as usual. Siege, appreciate it. Yo, you're welcome, bro. Thank you for being here. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and subscribe to the channel. Do me a favor and share the stream out on Twitter or other places. That would be awesome. Absolutely awesome as well. But for me, when that dude, when Jimmy Valley said that he has done transactions with XRP for the sale of XRP and for the purchase of XRP, especially for the sale, he said in particular, that far exceeds the price of XRP, the price that of XRP has ever been. Right. And again, like Linda said in the beginning of the thing, this is not about trying to be hype. Miss Crypto Siege is here. What's going on, miss? But right. So just think about that. That's what just happens in the real world. And I think, right, there's possibilities for anything. And we all have to pay attention, like Danny says. There may be some situations where they try to get rid. First of all, right now we got no access. I mean, the access is limited as it is now. So will there be a chance where they try to, do these little smaller offers? Probably. $100, $500, probably, maybe. But who's gonna fall for it? Who's gonna fall for it after hearing this and hearing Jimmy? I don't think a lot. All right, guys. Miss Crypto C says to land the plane. So I'm gonna try and do something here with you guys to end this video. See if it'll work. Will that work? See if it'll work. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather that we remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating, or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. Old money doesn't want you to win. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a really, really awesome hang. It's great to see so many of you I haven't seen in a while now. Goodness gracious, $100, Jackie? Goodness gracious, you are straight. Right. So I'm going to end this video like I do all my videos, reminding you guys of this, that old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I are already winning. Have a great rest of the night, guys. I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.